Hey, Dick DeBartolo, the GiZ WiZ, and we're here at Disneyland Studio. It's partly it's mostly Mad Magazine. And then I have a little bit of Dick's Gadget Warehouse, so we can sort of talk about all of it. I hold the record at Mad for being in every issue for a little more than 50 years. And now Mad is only reprints, or 99% reprinted material. But I'm still in there with material they bought in the past and publish now. So we have tons of stuff. I have a match game thing here because while working for Mad, I also was writing match game. And we have Mad memorabilia, the Mad watch. Bill Gaines told the watch company, you can sell a Mad watch, but it has to be Mad-like. And they came up with the idea that Alfred would be in a straitjacket and his feet would tell the time. And so Bill loved that. So that was the Mad watch. And way up at the top is the Mad Magazine game. It was the same thing. I was in the meeting with Bill and Parker Brothers. And Bill said, listen, I love Parker Brothers. I'd love to do something with them. What I don't want you to go back, dig out a game that you had 4 years ago that you put out and no one bought it. And now you want to put it out again and say it's the Mad game. He said, if we work together, it has to be something that's Mad-like. And they came back with incredible. It's a satire on Monopoly. The winner is the first person who can go bankrupt. And it's very clever because as you play, it says, you won $50,000, and normally you would go, oh, yay! And then you go, oh, no, now I have another $50,000 I have to get rid of. So the Mad Magazine game did very well. And then we have a lot of stuff that we made just for distributors. This was the Alfred E. Newman manufactured handed-over card. It was a way to hold up an ATM with a picture of a gun. Mad playing cards. I created this for the distributors meeting. The Alfred E. Newman memo pad. There's almost no room to write anything, and it's printed that way throughout the entire pad. But these things went over very big with the distributors because they were the only ones who had them. Mad had a line of cards. This is from Op Magazine. These were people who ended up at Mad for 50 years or more. And it was very funny because the photographer called and said, you know, I need you to come to a picture shoot. And I said, you know, it's Mad Magazine. If I'm sitting at a desk, I don't want to do it. He said, you won't be sitting at a desk. Can you hang from a rope? Do you know how to ride a tricycle? I said, oh, I'm in. So I did ride the tricycle, but they used the one of Al Jaffe riding the tricycle, and they used the one of me hanging from a rope, and Sergio hanging himself with the rope. And then I've written 11 Mad paperbacks. Those are the paperbacks. And then I have a hardcover book called Good Days and Mad. And then Mad is published in foreign languages. Let me see if I can find what. Like this, I have no idea what this is. All right. We just know it's Mad because of Alfred. And who knows? But it's all Mad stuff. And they just translate it into their local language. I'm a big disco freak, so I had a houseboat with, let me see. Does this still work? Oh no.
Maybe the battery?
It might be the battery, but I have a foolproof way. This one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I want to have instant disco, it's very easy to do here in my apartment. And then, well, over here, this is where I do the GiZ WiZ show from, and ABC News. I'm on World News Now once a month, and this is really neat. So the front of the flag is Mad Magazine and my GiZ WiZ logo, and the back of the mic flag is ABC News. So I just flip that around depending on whether I'm doing my podcast with Chad Johnson or doing my spot for ABC News. So everything comes from here. And let's see what else we have. Oh, you were at the warehouse. I'm not sure when these are going to play back, but you may have seen my warehouse. But I have Dick's Gadget warehouse shelves here. And this is the world's first commercial digital camera from Casio. No flash, no removable memory. It could take 30 pictures. It was $999. If it jammed, you sent the camera back to Casio, and they would hopefully recover your photos. This was on sale for a short time. Then they went to removable memory. And this is, I thought, fascinating. Casio invented the selfie with a flip-over lens. So that's very clever. And then I have other gadgets here. An ink watch. You know, this watch has been sitting here like 15 years. It may have the wrong. Oh, this is a clever idea. Blue Voice. This was a watch with Bluetooth, and when your phone rang, you popped that out, and there was a speaker in the back of it, so you could listen to your messages leaving your phone in your pocket. The first attempt at making it easier to do phone calls. And then the ever ongoing problem of trying to make remote controls easy. This was for older people. You slipped your remote control in here, and then you put the up and down arrows next to the volume control and the channel up and down and on off. It only worked with certain devices who had the controls in such a position you could do it. Yes, yes. These are very, very old. This never made it to market, but it's such a funny idea. It was the mouth radio, and the mouth would move. So if you were listening to the news, the mouth would actually make all the movements of the newscaster. It was very well done. And then the click drive, oh my God, that one year, the click drive, I think, was 1 gigabyte. People were freaking out over that. But you needed this. This went into your laptop. Back then, laptops had a slot for accessories.
PCMCIA.
Yes, slot. Yes, exactly. So this went into your computer, and then the disc went into the side of that.
Oh, wow, that must have been a seller.
Yes, it was big. It was a big... Then Maxell came out the following year with a tiny little thing, but this did not go over big. It was called Data Play, and I forgot how you played this back. And then early phones and zip drives. Zip drives were a big thing. Pages were a big thing. This is the world's first atomic clock, which the batteries are dead, but it kept terrible time because it checked with the atomic clock once a day if it could find it. And now atomic clocks, was every few seconds it's checking with the atomic clock. And that was $170. And ta-da! The original first Sony cassette player. And I remember I was flying home from California next to a guy with one of these, and I said, "Sir, can I ask what that thing is?" And he says, "Here, put these headphones on." I couldn't believe. I said, "Oh my God, I got to get one." He said, "Well, I'm a pilot." And he said, "They're only for sale in Japan, but they are scheduled to come to the U.S." I watched for months And it wasn't until probably 9 or 10 months later that they finally got them in the city. And I bought one of the early ones. It was almost $200 back then.
It's pretty much the Sony Walkman, right?
Yes.
When did they name it Walkman? Afterwards? I don't see it on there. That's why.
You know what? Oh, that's interesting.
I remember I believe mine said Walkman. Like.
You know, yeah. I don't know when they went officially with Walkman, but I know that people sell these on Amazon for hundreds of dollars. The first one, and then back there's a Zune. Actually, I thought the Zune was nicely designed. I guess it was just badly marketed, but that's the Zune. And when I first started doing Match Game, that's a Match Game tape with me talking to Lauren Bacall on Sony 1-inch digital tape. And that's Bill Gaines, Bill Gaines, the publisher of Mad, on To Tell the Truth, also on Sony videotape. We've come so far; it's just kind of astounding.
So that's the 8mm tapes.
No, it's 8mm would be really thin. So this is, it's like mega tape. Going open. Let me see if the other one is sealed. See, the tape is very big.
So is this audio or?
It's video.
It's video.
It's video. 1-inch videotape. Ampex, I think, was 3-inch. The stuff they used at the studio.
So that was professional. That was.
Yeah, this
not
was.
at
Yeah.
home using.
Yes. So there's some fun stuff. Chad showed this on one of our Halloween shows, and I just loved it. I had to buy one. Anyway, that is pretty much what Disneyland is all about. Oh, I do have my letter from George Lucas. I did the takeoff on Star Wars, and I wrote the satire, and Mort Drucker did the illustrations. And 2 days later, we got a letter from Lucas's attorneys that Mad was being sued. And I said to Bill, "What are you going to do?" And Bill said, "We're just going to take a copy of your letter and write on it, 'Gee, your boss George liked it.'" And so we never heard from them again, because George was very complimentary about loving it. And that picture up there, Jack Davis is a very famous artist from Mad and Time. And we did a TV show sitting on kids' blocks. And the studio hired Jack Davis to do a caricature of the three people who were on the show. And at the end of the show, he said, "Listen, we don't pay our guests, but if you'd like to take your caricature, feel free." And I thought, oh my God, an original Jack Davis? And Davis was kind of amazing, because we didn't know each other terribly well, but he knew I love boats, so there's a motor in there. He knew I loved watches, so I have a giant watch that does a lot of things. He knew I worked for Match Game, which was on NBC, that's the NBC logo, and that I pretty much always wore sneakers. So he got all of that stuff in the one illustration.
So did you have to stand for the picture, or he just did it by?
He did it on his own. When we showed up at the studio, it was on the block. I said, "Oh my God,
that's great!"
Yeah. Well, they were used to doing it from doing the movies from photographs. We would go see the movie, but they would do the movie from the press kits.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a question before.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you know how popular you were when you were writing for Mad? Like, did you understand? Like, when I was a kid, I mean, like, to have met you would have been like, oh my God, I met this, you were so, in my neighborhood. You were so popular with the kids.
I
call it, you were our YouTube of the 80s.
Yeah. Just occasionally. I remember I was at the airport and I had a Mad pin on. I don't know where I was flying. And he said, "Oh, I like the Mad pin." And I said, "Oh, here's a Mad card." He goes, "Wait, you're the guy that does the movie takeoffs?" I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hang on, you can't be in coach."
Oh.
He said, "Let me look." He said, "Oh, I can get you first class." That was one time. And the other time was I was in L.A. and Sid Caesar was appearing on a show. It was Hit the Deck, or I forgot what it was. Anyway, Sid Caesar was in it. And I was a huge Sid Caesar fan. So I went to the box office and the guy said, "Sir, it's just totally sold out for the entire run." I said, "Oh, he was my hero. He's one of the reasons I started writing for Mad." And he said, You work for Mad?" So I got a Mad, I gave him a Mad card, and he comes back to the tickets, and he says, "Is a house seat okay?" I said, "Are you kidding me? For tonight?" He said, "Yeah, for tonight." I said, "Absolutely." I get out my wallet. He goes, "No, this is my treat for all the years and all the laughs you've given me. This is my treat." I mean, that was like an astounding thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got to for myself. I was 10 years old when I first read one of my first Mads, and it was in school. So the way it went in my school, if I remember correctly, after you finished the Mad, whatever class you finished in, which you weren't supposed to be reading, you're supposed to be learning, but we would read the Mad magazine. You left it behind for the next kid.
Oh, how funny!
And then the next kid would get it, and it just that's how we started. That's how I started with Mad.
Yeah,
and
no.
It was such a. It brings you back to. It was always happy in reading it.
Yeah,
much laughter.
No, it's great. And one other. This may be too long, but I'll tell it anyway. Do you know Lin-Manuel Miranda? He wrote Hamilton. Anyway, one day the editor of Mad comes in and says, "Did you see what Lin-Manuel Miranda put on Twitter?" I said, "Well, I don't know him. I don't follow him." He said, "Well, go on, because it's about you." And I said, "It's about me?" So I go on Twitter, and as long as Dick DeBartolo is still writing spoofs for Mad Magazine, everything's gonna be okay. Funny and merciless my whole life. I found a way to get him a Mad hat and a bunch of Mad stuff, and he came up to Mad and spent a couple of hours there, and I'm thinking, this is just amazing that people, especially people in entertainment, like Mad.
Yeah, it was entertainment and others, because
yes.
whenever I hand a gift, Mad magazine, people are like, "Oh my goodness, this is still out." Is it still?
Yes, it is still around. Yes,
because we don't have the newsstands like we used to.
No. The only place you get it is Barnes and Noble. Still sells compilations. Like 4 times a year, they'll do a Mad special with a bunch of stuff in it.
That is awesome. Anything else?
I'll do one more.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I was so taken aback. I'm walking my dog in Riverside Park, and this guy walking his dog said, "Oh my God, Mad Magazine, I love Mad." I said, "Well, I've been there 50 years." He goes, "Oh, what's your name?" Dick DeBartolo. "Oh my God, I know you." I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm co-executive producer of Stephen Colbert." I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "I love that show. I love him. I know this is crazy. If I write a fan note to him, would you deliver it?" He said, "Yeah." So he gave me his email address, and I wrote Stephen a short thing about what an idol he was, and I gave it to him. And a couple of days later, I ran into him in the park, and I said, Did you give that to Steve?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Was there any reaction?" He said, "Yeah." Steve handed it to one of the production assistants and said, "Get this framed. I want to hang it in my office." And I thought, holy cow.
Oh, that's cool.
that, you know, that was great.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, you've touched a lot of people with
Yeah.
your work.
Well,
It has meaning, even today, you know.
Well, that's good. Well, that's great. Well, thank you, folks. If you want to follow me, GiZwiz.tv or GiZwiz.biz.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.